All right, my name is Juha. I'm from Futures Platform. I'm the CEO, and I'm here to speak about strategic foresight. And that's what we do. We have a solution for managing all that. And what it's just before I begin, just to give you an impression what that is. So normally every organization basically does strategy. So the idea of strategy is that you do an analysis and then you try to converge the findings from the analysis into kind of a strategy. So you fix that. This is our strategy, and we will concentrate on, right? Well, foresight is something different. It aims at opening up everything, like seeing everything that's going to happen in the future or might be happening, and being constantly aware of all that so that your organization is stronger and your strategy has the higher likelihood of hitting right, as right as you can be with the current analysis. And that's what we do, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about that. So here's some overview of our company. We've been out there 7 years now. We have a group of 10 professional futurists, so doctors and masters level professionals with the experts in future studies, so analyzing things that are happening in the future. Not like next year, but in 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 50 years from now. And that's what we do, and we've generated one of the world's largest repositories of such analysis created by our team. And it's available to all our users, and we are being constantly updating it as the world changes and new information comes about. Here are some of our customers. We work with mostly private and public large organizations who have the resources and capabilities of doing this very systematically. Quickly, the solution, as I mentioned, we have a lot of the analysis content, but then we also have a set of software tools for covering the all phases of the foresight process, starting from horizon scanning, i.e. trying to identify what's out there, all the way down to scenario analysis and monitoring of key signals and things. And that's all covered. But let's go back to foresight, what it's all about. And a good exercise of this is to imagine like how the world was like 15 years back from now. We didn't have the pandemic. Tesla was already doing something, yeah, right. But what was that? Some experimentation. Apple had just launched the first version of iPhone. Like that's 15 years only. And if you compare that to what the world is now, it's totally different. Totally. So then the next exercise is like, let's go 15 years ahead. What will the world be like in 15 years from now? And that's an important thing when you and people in your organizations are making decisions about your business, guiding your business, building your business, entering markets, going away from markets, assessing risks, assessing opportunities, innovation, everything. Everything relates to this. And then there's going to be disruptions and surprises and things that don't just make any sense. Pandemics, crazy guys out there, geopolitical changes, major societal changes. And the kind of nasty but also interesting thing about it is that many of these changes actually come from outside of your domain. So if you're working in energy, yeah, you pretty much know what's going to be in energy technology in the past or the next years, maybe next 3 to 5, even 10 years from now. But how about the geopolitical scheme or major societal change, how people, healthcare? Maybe you should know something about that too. And here's an example of some disruptions that our Foresight and Futures team has been detecting early on. We, for example, predicted the war in Europe in 3 years ago. We saw that there could be a possibility for a global pandemic more than 10 years ago. So these things can be analyzed. Of course, nobody can tell when it's going to happen, but that's not the point. The point is that by analyzing and being aware of these things, you're stronger. There's a lot of stuff our futures team has been analyzing more than 1,000 of these things, and each one of them has a complete analysis of key drivers, key scenarios or paths, how this could come about, if it would come about. Also an assessment on the timing, probability, and things like this. And what we're saying is basically, because we're living in a world of VUCA, you might have heard about this, means that the world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You need to be taking these things into account. And this is not something that is part of the standard repertoire of a strategy team or not to speak of a strategy consultant. And this is a very different angle, but I think, and we believe that this is more relevant than ever before right now in the world, and in the way that the world is changing right now. The closest, typically in organizations, the people that get closest to this is usually the innovation people. But even there, usually the focus is more on the opportunity side. Like, okay, so what's the technologies? What are the new innovations? How could we benefit of that? But it's not that much about the risks, for example, of threats, cyber threats, other threats, societal change, political change, things like this. This is what we cover. I think important thing about foresight is that, if you don't remember anything else, the foresight is about continuously asking about what ifs. What if this would happen? What if this would happen? What if there's a nuclear war even? You need to, even how negative or pressing and daunting that feels to think of these scenarios, it still makes you stronger to go through them, at least at some level. At least being aware of them, that they could be possible. The collapse of the world economy, it is possible. The collapse of the dollar, it is possible. And an important thing is that it's not about foresight is not about predictions, like I said. The point isn't that somebody would give you the crystal ball of when the world economy could be collapsing. No, that's not the point. The point is that there is such a thing, there is such a possibility, and the key thing is that organizations are aware that that might happen. It might not, but it might. And obviously many people then ask, like, okay, so you probably play with a lot of statistics and data and modeling and all that, and actually we don't. And the reason is that when you go all the way here, 10 years beyond, it doesn't make any sense of what kind of statistical model you have, no matter how accurate it would be in the next year, because there's just so much variability and change and volatility when you approach the 10 years that doesn't make sense to go about analyzing any econometric models. It's just an academic exercise at best. But in the field of future studies, there is actually really robust methodology for doing that analysis, and that's where we are focusing on. And we have studies that make sense. So comparing future-prepared firms versus other firms, there is significant differences according to academic research. Still something to think about is that usually when you think about long-term change, usually it comes from outside of your domain. So many times strategy teams, innovation teams, you are doing the right thing. You are analyzing like your domain. Where is energy going to be? What are the key innovations going to come into energy? But then you're kind of forgetting everything else beyond energy. And that's where actually when we go far enough, where most likely the disruptions are going to come from. Whether it's a war or whether it's a pandemic that changes how we do work, or anything else like that breaks supply chain, the change is going to come from outside your domain. And this is another way of depicting it. So when you look at your domain, you basically know what's going to come up within your domain in 3 years, even more. And you pretty much know what are the likely threats from outside. But when you start expanding the time horizon to, let's say, 8 years, or even not to speak of 10 years, the kind of horizon starts exploding like a exponentially. So it means that there's so much things that are completely outside from your domain that you should consider that could impact your business in 10 years from now. And that should be built in at least in some way in your strategy or vision, at least. And this is where we give you the tools. So basically, an example of this, that's not the only tool, but this is one of the core tools, is what we call the foresight radar. So it basically takes this trumpet, if you will, and turns it in a way into the other direction where you get this foresight radar view. And this is one of the views from our platform. So basically, you get a lot of different analysis made by our futurists, and you can, for example, work them with your team in a radar view like this. Take a shot of the QR code. You get a limited time free access to this energy radar if you like to play around with it. You can access all the content that's displayed here. So each one of these opens up a window with a specific readable article about the analysis made by our futurists, with links to relevant other sources and recent news about it and everything else. We'll keep it open till the end of May, roughly. That said,